this, and yes, this is very late, very, very late. I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff, because I haven't been talking about anything, because of this. Yes, this is addictive. This is crack. I just would like to make that statement. Anyways, and I was going to do the DragonGate review, Saturday, but, I guess Saturday, or Friday night, early Saturday. But, yeah, my DVR didn't want to record it, so, and I had to wait. So, anyways, that's why this is, and then, that and the game got in the way of me doing what else this video is going to be about, but there's going to be some stuff at the end. But anyways, let's get first, foremost, all of that, DragonGate USA, Untouchable, the second pay-per-view. Definitely, I don't know, not as good as the first, definitely not as good as the first at all. This had a lot of just issues with it, and nothing bad, it's just stuff that you would think they would know not to do. I mean, this isn't like Gabe's first pay-per-view, it's not even his second pay-per-view, this isn't, you know, GoFunk or whoever it is that's doing the pay-per-views, it's not theirs. I mean, they did all of Ring of Honor's pay-per-views, so there's all of that, so there was a lot of stuff on here that just made me scratch my head and go, wow. I will say this, they started out the show, they had Dragon Kid come out, they had Yoshino come out, then they were showing the guys in the back getting ready for their matches. I like that, I thought that was pretty cool, but then Lenny Leonard went off about how this was the Super Bowl and Stanley Cup and whatever for pro wrestling, and I was like, really? An indie show, pay-per-view that no one's going to see is as big as WrestleMania? Good going. But anyways, that kind of bugged me. But the first match we got Dragon Kid and Yoshino. Good match, kind of what you would expect, fast. You know, just overall, just kind of good match. Lots of spots. Not as good as, you know, I've seen these guys do before, which is kind of what I expected going in, particularly after the first show. You know, you can only see these guys wrestle so many times before it just kind of gets old. I don't mean that in a bad way, just kind of the way it is. But there was that. I would like to state this, that the camera angles and the lighting were not very good, in my opinion. This was like, just like I said, just production-wise, there was lots of good, but there was definitely some stuff I was just scratching my head about. So, anyways. Then we got Yamato, Gran, Akuma, Mike Quackenbush, and Jigsaw. This, of course, was the kind of angle that came from the first pay-per-view, kind of a storyline type thing. It was really the only storyline. Really did need to be on the show, in my opinion. This wasn't a good match. It was okay, and I'll get into that later. But Jigsaw looked like he hurt his leg about halfway through the match, which completely just tore the match apart. And, you know, I don't know if Yamato had ever worked with any of these guys, but it was, you know, you had three guys that definitely knew how to work together. One guy that I don't know if any of them had actually worked with each other, so I'm sure he knew how to work the style, and the style is pretty much the same. But it was just kind of there. It was okay. Kind of, this was one of those matches that just makes me go, with Chikara stuff. Because it's fun, but it's just kind of there and not very, it's okay, but it's just not good. There we go. Then we had Doi taking on Bryan Danielson. This was great, no question about it. Just great stuff. They went out there, did their thing. I think everybody, you know, Dave Meltzer loved this match. He thought this match was maybe his match of the year. I wouldn't go that far. I definitely didn't think it was that good. I did need a storyline to kind of go along with this. We didn't. We just had two guys going out there put on a great match, which I'm fine with. No problem with that. But I wouldn't say match of the year worthy. You know, Danielson kind of did his MMA, his kicks. Doi did all of his stuff that you would normally see in DragonGate. We saw lots of suplexes, guys dropping on their heads, guys getting kicked in the head, kicked in the chest, forearms, elbows, lots of great stuff. Worth seeing the pay-per-view, in my opinion, for this show, for that match. Then we had CIMA taking on Bryan Kendrick. Now, this match, apparently, when it took place, the live report said it kind of under-delivered. It was still a good match. It was as good as the main event. But it still kind of under-delivered. And yet, they stuck this on here, and they clipped it. And I don't mean just kind of clipped it, I mean clipped it. Where I don't know why this was on the pay-per-view. particularly when they did an angle with Bryan Danielson and Davey Richards at the show, which was said to be awesome, that they did not do on the pay-per-view, which by all accounts would have fit perfect with everything it looks like they're going to do with Davey Richards. With the pay-per-view, the fact Bryan Danielson is leaving, it would have made sense. We didn't get on the pay-per-view. Very odd to me. Very strange. Because I would imagine more people are going to see this pay-per-view than probably will order the DVD, I would think. I don't know. But, yeah, I don't know why this was on there. They did this weird cut to the back for no apparent reason that I had to watch twice to really understand what the hell was going on. I finally got what was going on. It was something that had nothing to do with anything, in my opinion. It was kind of goofy and very Impact-like, going random to the back type garbage. And, yeah, so I don't know why this was on here. I was just kind of scratching my head. Goofiness. You definitely could have put something else. There was lots of... They did another angle. They did like an Age of the Fall type of angle on this show as well, live, that they didn't put on here. So I don't know. There definitely could have been other things they could have put on this. Or they could have just put the match and taken the DragonGate Chikara match off of this. You know. Anyways. Then we got Davey Richards versus Shingo. This is another match a lot of people have been raving and going crazy about. Again, I thought it was great. I didn't think it was match of the year quality great, just because there was, it was just two guys going out there having a great match, which is fine. Like I said, fine, but it would have been nice to have at least some sort of story going into it, instead of guys just trying to beat the crap out of each other, which is fine too, but I would have liked a little bit more than that. That's just me personally. But anyways, still great. Davey Richards and Shingo went out there. I definitely didn't think it was as good as Davey and Kenta, so even with the botch at the end of the Davey-Kenta match, so there we go. They basically just beat the crap out of each other. Davey did do the suicide dive where he went like 4 rows. Missed and went like 4 rows, which was kind of scary. But it's Davey Richards, so he can be crazy, I guess. Anyways. Then we had the main event of the Young Bucks taking on Saito and Genki Horiguchi. I feel sorry for these guys having to go on after, Davey Richards and Shingo and basically Doi and Danielson, because CIMA and Kendrick, it's kind of just like a breather. I don't know if they weren't going to do the Danielson Richards angle, I don't know why they just didn't put either Danielson and Doi as the main event or Richards and Shingo as the main event. I think Doi and Danielson could have been the main event, because you could have basically said it was a non-title match, even though, so your champion would have been, on the main event. But anyways, was good, was spotty, was okay, was a good Young Bucks match, is how I would put it. Had a lot of great spots, a lot of crazy spots to some degree. Not much of a story to it, and ultimately that did kind of bother me. A lot of people always said, Ring of Honor had no stories. Literally, you have no stories for the most part with these matches, and that kind of bugs me. But anyways, overall, I still thought it was a great pay-per-view. I mean, you had 2 4-star matches, and the worst match on the show was okay. Everything else was solidly good to great. And some people would say, you had 2 matches that arguably, depending on who you talk to, were match of the year contenders. So can't really go wrong with there. But there was lots of other things that just kind of made me scratch my head. So I'll give it an 8.75 just for that, even though I know some people say I'm underrating it. But hey, what are you gonna do? I guess. Anyways, the other thing I wanted to talk about, because I haven't talked about it, so this is the stuff portion. Was, of course, TNA last week. By the time this gets up, people would have already seen this week's TNA, and I have no idea what happened because I didn't watch it. Opened with Dixie Carter's little speech to the boys, which was mind-bogglingly strange and weird to watch. I literally was playing this, and Chase, C-Dude, wrote me on Xbox and goes, "Get on Skype now." And I'm like, I'm playing. About an hour passed. He goes, "Get on Skype now." I'm like, fine, I'll get on Skype. So I get on Skype, and he goes, "You need to see this," because apparently they had already uploaded the speech on YouTube. So he shows me the speech on YouTube, and I stood in awe of this speech. I was like, this happened? And so I waited because I was like, wow, what kind of storyline are they coming out with this? And then it comes out, this wasn't a storyline. She meant everything she said. She decided that she was going to be the one to apparently put this out there. They may turn it into a storyline later, but that she was going to take this. Apparently they did 2 takes of this, believe it or not, because I don't know why they needed to do 2 takes, but apparently they did 2 takes, which is even more mind-boggling. And, you know, she basically dressed down the boys and the girls, yelled at them and said, you know, I run this company. If you don't like it, you can leave, blah, blah, blah. Everybody has seen it. I stood there with my jaw dropped. This literally, folks, was the type of crap WCW did before they died. Literally. And it gets worse. Because apparently, guys went, really? We can leave? We want out! Apparently, Kazarian and Homicide both said, okay, we want out. And they were told, no, we're not giving you a release. So even though she said that, she didn't really mean it. Apparently 3 other guys did too, but we don't know who that is, who they are. But so apparently 5 people said they want it gone. That's pretty mind-boggling in my opinion. This whole thing was mind-boggling. This just, you know, it amazes me. We were all excited. I think every single person was excited about the pay-per-view coming up Sunday. I think we were all like, oh wow, this is going to be great. And now I think everyone's kind of like, eh. I don't know anyone that's super excited about this pay-per-view. Maybe some of you are. Maybe you'll come on here and say, I'm excited about this pay-per-view. I'm not excited about this pay-per-view anymore. I'll probably still buy it, but I'm not excited about it anymore. They've taken it from me. They've taken that joy from me about this pay-per-view. It just, truly just kind of wow kind of thing. I mean, literally, just kind of wow. It thoroughly amazes me that this is the thing. And what gets me is when I was watching, it's probably just me being stupid, and my initial reaction was why would you put this on TV unless also you wanted the fans and us and all the people that criticize TNA to also hear it. Also hear her basically say, this is, I run it, you don't like it, tough shit. My thing is, lady, if that's what you meant, and I don't know if that's what she meant, so I'm taking a big, huge, giant step and maybe letting my, you know, maybe making the people that criticize TNA maybe give more credence to what they deserve at all. But anyways, your biggest show of the year, you had less than 1,000 people pay to see it. Okay? You had less than 1,000 people pay to see it. You only had what did I say? 2,500 people at that show. 2,500 people. Okay? There's a good possibility, well, I won't get into it. But, you know, I mean, 2,500 people. You had the same number of people for TNA, who's on freaking television, who's a mainstream company. I believe PWG has drawn more people to a show, I think it was their biggest show ever, than you have in LA. Give me a freaking break. Please. I mean, good Lord. You know, Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff's got to be watching this going, wow. I mean, really? I mean, what the fuck was that? What was it? Who thought that was a good idea? I mean, Jesus H. Christ. And, you know, I mean, it's mind-boggling to me. I mean, this is a company, and I haven't talked about this, you know, I hadn't talked about what TNA has drawn until I did that video about Bound for Glory. I hadn't talked about it in probably a year. Because really, they started doing house shows again, something me and Moral Virus, when we first came on here, griped and screamed and hollered about that they didn't do house shows and it was horrible. And they started doing house shows. And they weren't doing good, and we griped about that they weren't doing good. And then they started to actually do good last year. They would go to these towns, and they would do good. Well, for those of you not aware, when they go back to these towns, they do like half of what they did with the first time they went. Not only that, but they went to Chicago. Chicago, you could argue Chicago might be the second biggest wrestling town in the United States. You could argue that. It's definitely in the top 5. They drew less than Ring of Honor. They drew less than, if Ring of Honor had a bad showing in Chicago, they drew less than that. That's how bad they drew in Chicago. What the hell is wrong with... Can these people not promote their freaking house shows? What the hell? And here she is on television, dressing down the boys, saying, if you don't like where we're going, we'll talk shit. Really? 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 I mean, my God. Get a grip. And then to basically tell the fans, well, if if any of the guys went out, they can leave. And then not to let them out. That's even worse. That is far, far worse. That is far worse. There was other things I was going to talk about on this video. Like, for example, another thing I was going to talk about, I'm glad I waited, was the fact that Ring of Honor and DragonGate, in my opinion, were saying, fuck you to the fans. Because they decided, one of them decided, that they were going to go head-to-head WrestleMania weekend. Now, part of the problem, apparently, was that the WWE basically told the people in Phoenix, the surrounding area, the arenas in Phoenix, that you had to, basically pulled some sort of strings, and everyone was going to have announced what they were going to do that weekend a couple of weeks ago, or when DragonGate announced they were going to be there, because WWE felt that, that's their weekend. They don't want people coming in and hounding off of them and leeching off of them. Which is fine, except, my opinion is, they're being stupid. Not to gripe with TNA anymore, but I still, after, when WWE went to Orlando, and then TNA did that live Impact. Okay, they had, I believe, if I remember right, they had what, like 25 to 3,000 people waiting outside the Impact Zone, waiting to get in, which, of course, it only holds like 1,000 people. I think they even have more than that, waiting to get in. Now, keep in mind, people say, oh, but that's free. Not really, because you have to pay to get into the park. So these people were paying to get in to see the show. Of course, nobody knew that TNA basically had given away, for the live Impact, a bunch of free tickets, and that none of those people were going to be able to go in, and it was a complete and utter clusterfuck. You would think TNA would learn and go, wow, you know what if we went to one of these cities for the WWE for WrestleMania weekend, and on Thursday did a live Impact? And we did that every year when, the entire wrestling world is around and doing that. And the WWE would probably be like, we really don't want them to be here, but then maybe somebody would be smart and go, wait a minute. If they show up, because if you know anything about WrestleMania, they hype WrestleMania to the cities that are going to host it as, bringing in all these people, bringing in all this money. Well, the longer you can get people to stay in these cities, the more money they're going to spend. Well, if people have to show up on Thursday to see Impact, and I think you would have people showed up in Orlando to do it, so I think people would do that, would show up to watch the show. On Thursday, well, that's just more money that, maybe not that much more, but that's more money people would be spending, and that's longer people would be staying in there. And basically, you have the possibility of people staying from Thursday to Friday, and that's a long time. And maybe there's people that understand this stuff far more than me that go, people don't stay that long. But they did it in Orlando, so that's kind of my point. Anyways, they don't show up. To me, that's stupid. I've never understood that. You would think they would be willing to do that, but anyways, that's beside the point. So they don't show up. So basically, back to my original point, DragonGate and ROH looked like they were going to go head-to-head both nights. Well, so I was going to come on here, and I was basically going to say one of them needed to somebody needed to call somebody. I know they don't like each other. I know DragonGate feels that Ring of Honor stiffed them on the last Japan tour. I know Ring of Honor feels like DragonGate didn't, live up to their end of the bargain. And then you've got the whole Gabe deal and all sorts of other stuff going on too. Somebody needed to pick up the phone and go, okay, one of us needs to move the shows so that the fans at least have the ability, not that everyone would do this, to see all the shows. Luckily, DragonGate moved the Saturday show to 8 o'clock. So, yay, DragonGate. Thank you. So, I don't have to gripe about that. But anyways, I think that's all I was going to gripe about. There's probably more I was going to gripe about, but I don't really remember now. Yeah, let's see. No, I think that was all I was going to gripe about. But yeah, TNA, why, Dixie, why did you do this? Why? Why? And why didn't you let the guys go? Just let them go. Let them go. Let's just let them go. Who cares if you have another, Radicals crap happen. Let them go. If they're not happy, they're just not going to be happy. And you know, whatever. Anyways, with that, I'm out. I've rambled long enough. Go watch the DragonGate pay-per-view. Buy the DVD when it comes out. I don't know if the DVD is going to be as good, but go buy the DVD when it comes out. Support the company if you like the shows. I know a lot of you like the shows. Probably liked it more than I did. Support the company then and buy the stuff. Put your money where your mouth is. Anyways, with that, I'm out. Later. Have a good